Hi. So I did not prepare really any topic to talk about for this video. I've been pretty busy with work, and I also took some time for myself to meet up with one of my best friends before they leave back to school. So that's where my last week has been. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up talking about, but I was inspired by a conversation my best friend and I had last night on adulthood, adulting, and what it truly means to be an adult. I think it's different for everybody, and my best friend and I also, we were just kind of throwing out what we believed adulthood to be in our eyes. It was a really nice conversation, and that's one of the reasons why I just love her company and just being around her. Just a true light, and I think also having those types of relationships is really beneficial. Someone where you can just talk to about anything, not feeling like they're gonna judge you in a certain way, feeling safe and being able to just be yourself, and there's no judgment there. It's just pure love and care. Before I get into that, I am pretty thirsty, so I have a nice cold LaCroix. Nice. Very nice and crispy. Also, we have beautiful Buddy in the back. He is taking a little nap. Also, the setting's kind of different, isn't it? I'm in our room, technically. But yeah. So I really don't know how we ended up talking about adulthood last night. There was a lot of things we were talking about. I'm currently working through some things, and I think there's going to be quite a big change in my life very soon. Something I am prepping for and planning for, but we got into this conversation and we were both explaining how I don't feel like an adult. I am 27 now, but I don't feel like an adult, and how am I perceived in other people's view? I feel like it's really different for our parents because they raised us, and I feel like in my mom's and my dad's eyes, I'm always gonna look like their little baby when I talk to my parents or see my parents. And I also still lean on them as the adults. I lean on them as like my parental figures, and the adults, the people who know everything when they actually don't. That's pretty interesting, but also like we were talking about how when am I gonna feel that shift of being an adult? Like, is it once I get confident in my finances? Is it when I get confident in my career? Is it when I am just more confident in general? When does that shift happen? And of course, there's no answer to that. And I don't feel it myself. I don't know when I'm going to start feeling like an adult. But it's something I'm very curious about. And something I've been reflecting on is when I was actually younger, like when I was still in high school or in my early undergrad year, I felt more of an adult than I do now. And I think back then I was just kind of more, I had an idea of what I wanted to be when I got older. And I also had like confidence more in my beliefs, what I thought, all of those things. I felt like I was more sure of myself back then than I am now. And maybe that's why I felt more of an adult then than I do now. I think I'm in this point in my life where I truly don't really know what my future is going to look like, if that makes sense. Is that uncertainty what makes me feel not accomplished and is not accomplishing these set ideas of adulthood, what makes me feel less of an adult. Because, for example, I take care of myself. I have a whole being to take care of, so technically I am adulting. So why does it feel like I'm not? Does that make sense? And then, for example, I see my older sister, who is 3 years older than me. I see her as an adult, but I don't know when that shift happened either. When did I categorize her as an adult in my head? When did that shift happen? And was it when she had her kids? Was it like now that she has two actual human beings that she's raising? Is that when that shift happened? I actually don't know. And then we started talking about like what traits we think make us adults, or what traits we think make people adults. So an adult is basically someone who, or something, an animal, a plant, someone who is fully matured / developed, right? That's the definition of an adult. Here we categorize 18-year-olds as adults. I mean, they gain some rights that they can do things on their own, sign contracts, all of these things, right? I'm talking more about like the emotional maturity, the more like psychological change, shift that happens within us. Like, when do you start feeling like an adult? I think it means different things for different people, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means to me. Factually, I am an adult, and that's the fact. I am an adult, but my question is, when am I going to start feeling like an adult? I do adult things. I pay my own phone bill. I pay my own rent. I pay my own insurance. I pay for another being. So I wonder when that shift will happen within me. I truly think it's going to happen probably when I feel more confident in my career, in my experience, in who I am as a person. I feel like even though I'm in my late 20s, I'm always learning more about myself. I'm not saying that there's gonna come a day where I know myself 100%, because I am always going to be growing as humans. We will always grow, we will always develop. We're going to make mistakes. We are going to have really great moments and some bad ones too. So that's all going to shape me as a person. But I feel like at this moment in time, I still don't really know me truly. And my life has just kind of been repetition, and I want that to change, and it is going to change. I am set on changing it for myself. And I'm finally realizing, like, I don't have to live my life the way I've been living it because of fear. When I'm in a situation, I am going to figure it out. My partner and I are going to figure it out with Buddy. You know what I'm trying to say? I feel like this past year, these past few months too, I've been truly listening to myself more, and I am finally going to make some changes for myself that I'm scared about but excited about. So I think that part of me is adulting. It's when I think of the changes I've made so far, and my confidence and my decision making and my ways of thinking, I feel a little bit more of an adult. Also, I feel like I've been protecting myself a little bit more. I'm liking the direction that I'm heading into. But yeah, I don't know if this video was just a lot of rambling, if it was hard to pay attention to if my thoughts were kind of all over the place, because that's how I am lately, honestly. This past whole week too, I've just been extra nervous for some reason. Yeah, but please let me know, like, do you feel like an adult? That's also another thing my friend and I were talking about. We were talking about how we perceive people in our lives as adults. The people we perceive as adults, do they even perceive themselves as adults? Like, do they feel like adults? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So what do you think? If you feel like an adult, please tell me if you know. When did that shift happen? Also, I'm also just curious to know your guys' opinions on what makes an adult, what traits you consider to be adulting. I just think getting different viewpoints is so fascinating, and I really enjoy being part of that conversation. So I would definitely enjoy reading your comments on your opinions of adulthood. So please leave them below. Hopefully this ends in a way that you can at least get what I'm trying to say. And if not, maybe it's just a chatty video that hopefully you can relate to. I feel like we're all kind of jumbled up in here sometimes, and that's what I'm going through. So if you can relate, I'm here with you. Thank you once again for sharing such a small portion of your life with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you had a fun, silly drink, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.